All right, everybody. How's it going? Oregon just beat the heck out of Colorado after a very slow start. The Ducks came back and really just turned on the Jets at the end of the first half. I believe the score was 43 to 16 at halftime after a couple of Oregon touchdowns late, and they just put the Buffaloes away in the second half. No scoring in the fourth quarter because Oregon was trying to shut out Colorado in the second half, and they did, and because they were playing that boring backups thing that they do. Um, there was some panic to start this one, right? Oregon comes out, gives up some yards after an opening punt by the Duck offense. Gives up some yards. Paul Richardson is a beast. We knew that coming in. And he had a deep ball immediately for 55 yards. And so in one play, Colorado had already taken it down to the Oregon 30. But then the Oregon defense, as they are wont to do, shored things up in the red zone, forced a field goal. Oregon comes right back down to the field and scores a touchdown. And then we had the little trickeration. Paul Richardson took a pitch and threw a little gadget pass over to Dede Goodson, who took it 75 yards to the house. I believe it was Boseko Lacumbo that just completely blew that assignment, but it was a gadget play. The panic was rampant in the game thread on addictedtoquack.com. However, you guys are all crazy because we were never going to lose to Colorado. They lasted with us for, a good, let's see, when did we actually take the lead for the first time? 4 minutes and 55 seconds left in the first quarter. Took the lead at 15 to 10 and didn't look back. Byron Marshall, you guys can hate all you want, but Byron Marshall's my dude. I am on the Marshall bandwagon. I was off it for the first couple of weeks, but last week against Cal, he impressed me, and tonight he impressed me even more. 23 carries, 122 yards. He was a workhorse, had a couple of big runs. Really, for all the crap he gets about being hesitant, I think he did a pretty good job of getting north-south. He's a bigger runner, and you're going to see him try and lower the shoulder and run into guys rather than trying to run past them, because that's part of his game plan, is to be able to lower the shoulder and use his size to his advantage. Guys like DeAnthony Thomas, guys like Kenyon Barner used to be, they're not going to do that because their game is speed. But Byron Marshall is able to do that. 5.3 yards a carry, completely respectable, especially in a game where Colorado was sagging down towards the line of scrimmage to stop the run. And because they were doing that, it opened up some big-time holes in the pass game, and Marcus Mariota and the Oregon wide receivers were able to exploit that. Two 100-yard receivers in this game for Oregon. Braylon Addison, 5 catches, 158 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Josh Huff, 5 catches, 103 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Addison had the big 75-yard strike from Mariota. Mariota in this game, 16 of 27, 355 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. Still hasn't thrown a pick this year. Knock on wood, that he will continue to not throw a pick this year. I believe they said at the end of the broadcast it was 202 pass attempts right now without an interception for Marcus Mariota. And he also added 2 touchdowns on the ground, keeping on the zone read inside the 5, which is just deadly. It was my favorite thing in the world to watch Jeremiah Masoli do it when he would get down inside the 5, because you knew it was coming. You knew they were going to run the zone read. You knew that Mariota was going to keep it, and you knew it was going to be a touchdown. That Masoli was going to keep it and it was going to be a touchdown. Mariota did just that today. Twice, 7 total touchdowns. He rushed 7 times for 43 yards to go along with those 355 yards passing. That's just shy of 400 total yards in this game for Marcus Mariota. You can say all you want about his perceived lack of accuracy. He's a Heisman Trophy candidate. And I think the Oregon defense performed really well. Paul Richardson 5 catches, 134 yards, only 2 catches in the second half. 5 catches. If you're holding Paul Richardson to 5 catches, you're doing really well. They were deep strikes because that's his game. He is a monster of a wide receiver, and he's going to get you deep a couple of times a game. The key is stopping the rest of Colorado's offense, which is not very good. All things considered, Connor Wood only threw for 205 yards passing through the air. He was 11 of 33 for 205. Paul Richardson had 134 of those yards. So really, to receivers not named Paul Richardson, 70 yards. That's it. On the run game for Colorado, 2.6 yards a carry. They got into the red zone, nothing but field goals. Their only touchdown was on a one-play gadget. That's it. We can look at this game as, that shaky first quarter where the defense gave up a lot of yards, but it wasn't that at all. This was an effective and controlled stomping. And if you want to call it a sleepwalk game or a look-ahead game to Washington next week, you can. All good teams are entitled to sleepwalk games. Alabama had one against Colorado State, and they won by 25 at home. Oregon had a sleepwalk game. They won by 41 on the road. Some more stats from this one of note. Third down efficiency, Oregon 9 of 18. Very good. If you're converting 50% of your third downs, you're doing real well. Colorado, 0 for 15. 0 for 15. Yeah. Not a single third down conversion in this game for Colorado. They had one fourth down conversion. I believe that was on the opening drive. And Colorado came out fun. They came out loose. They came out trying to play. They onside kicked the opening kickoff. How great was that? They had the gadget play. They were going for it on fourth downs. It was fun. They were staying in it and hanging around. And it was fun to watch for a while. And I like that when you're a big underdog of trying to play loose, and you're going to have to make big plays, and weird things are going to happen if you're a 35-point plus underdog to get a win, and they tried to do that. I'm kind of disappointed with the fact that after those first 6 minutes or so, they went away from that. They started kicking field goals instead of going for it on fourth down. You're not going to beat Oregon with field goals. You're just not. Good teams aren't going to beat Oregon with field goals. Bad teams have no chance whatsoever. And I was a little disappointed with that. Colorado had a fourth down at midfield in the second quarter. They chose to punt. Like I said, 3 field goals in the first half. If they convert those fourth downs and end up with touchdowns, it's not 43. It's not 43-16 at the half. It's 43-28 at the half. And now we're talking about, a potential for weirdness because they're hanging around in the second half of the game. But Oregon put the clamps down in the second half, pulled away 57-16. Players of the game for me, Braylon Addison. He was tremendous again. Didn't return 2 punts for touchdowns, but 158 yards is clearly a career high. And he's really showing to be the breakout explosive guy on offense this year. Again, Josh Huff looked very good. Byron Marshall, 122 yards. Thomas Tyner, 10 carries for 30 yards. I know I like Thomas Tyner a lot too. I'm just saying, Byron Marshall, in my eyes, is the number 2 back by a significant margin right now. Tyner's got the talent. He showed in this game that, running between the tackles and trying to run when there isn't a hole there and where you don't have that room to get acceleration, that's where Tyner, has some room to improve, and I'm going to look for him to improve on that. Looking ahead to next week, like Matt Daddy pointed out in the comments section of the game thread, now that we're done with Colorado, it is Happy I Hate Washington week, the most wonderful week of the year. And this is a big one, ladies, gentlemen, quack addicts. This is a big one because this is Washington's last shot to prevent a decade of Duck domination. Washington's last win over Oregon, November 1st, 2003. This is their last shot before November 1st, 2013 rolls around, and it will have officially been a decade, a full 10-year span since Washington has beat Oregon at football. And this looks like Washington's best shot in a long time to beat Oregon at football. Kickoff for Washington Stanford is going to start in about 20 minutes on Fox Sports 1. This should be an interesting one, and to be honest, I want Washington to win because I want them coming in to Husky Stadium next week with infinite amounts of confidence. I want them coming into Husky Stadium thinking that they could beat anybody. Coming off a win on the road against Stanford would be huge. I think it would vault them into the top 10, if not the top 5. I know on my Quack Poll ballot, if Washington beats Oregon, those two schools are going to be 1-2 going into next week. And I know that I'm just one humble man, but I would love a 1 versus 2 matchup, at least in my eyes. Going down on Saturday in Seattle, because that would be so much fun. And I think Oregon's going to win. So that would be even more fun. Because, everybody, say it with me, rivalries are more fun when both teams are good. You think back to the best rivalry games, Civil War history, 2008-2009, right there back to back. Those games were great because both teams were really good. Oregon-Washington hasn't been fun for a few years because Washington hasn't been as good as Oregon, and Oregon has just been able to assert their will and control the game and win easy. This year, that might not be the case. This year, Oregon could be in for a fight. Bishop Sankey might be the best running back in the country right now. Keith Price has been playing well. He's finding all of his targets. The defense has been good. I wouldn't say it's been elite or great. I'd still take Oregon's defense if given the choice. However, I think Washington's defense has been good. And yeah, the Ducks are in for a fight here. And it's going to be a fun one in what should be a nutso Husky Stadium crowd. Well, that will about do it for the ATQ postgame show, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I am Takimoto. Join us next week for all the latest in Happy I Hate Washington Week news, analysis, and goodness. For AddictedToQuack.com, this is Takimoto. Go Ducks, and enjoy the rest of your college football and pro football, if you're into that kind of thing, weekend.